other kids can. So we'll see if I can learn to do that. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. So you need to be patient with me. I'm still learning to use this Zoom software. Okay, so here we go. So what we're going to do first, here's the study center. You guys are familiar with this. If you come down here in the study center, go all the way down, and you'll see Modern Studies right here. See the Modern Studies? That's where you're going to find the courses that we're going to work on today. So here's Logistic 1. That's Modern Arithmetic 1. We used to call it. Mr. Michael just changed the name. And then down here we have Logistic 2, Modern Arithmetic 2. And down here is a course that we're going to work on. I actually was talking to Mr. Michael about it, and I decided we're going to work together through Logistic 3. Because this course would be fine. Even if you're young, we'll just work through this slowly. Okay. So this is what we're going to work on, Logistic 3 together. And I'll just show you this course. Okay. So elementary, yes, Jude, we're doing elementary arithmetic and elementary geometry, both in this class, because we'll have plenty of time to work on both. So let's read first right here. What is logistic? Mr. Michael wrote this for you guys. Okay, watch this. I'm going to read this to you. Right here. What is logistic? In the classical liberal arts academy curriculum. Can you hear me? Raise your hand if you can hear me. Okay. So Gunnar, the other kids said they can hear me. Okay. So Gunnar, check your volume because the other kids say they can hear me. Okay. So check your volume. In the classical liberal arts academy curriculum under modern studies, one will find courses titled logistic. A look at the course content will find that it is what we would call practical arithmetic or modern arithmetic in modern circles. The modern use of the term arithmetic is false and confusing, as arithmetic is one of the seven classical liberal arts and is the name of the science of absolute multitude. The proper study of arithmetic is found in the Academy's classical arithmetic course. Okay, that's another course you can study when you get older. While some may think I'm being picky with a distinction like this, it's worth noting that Plato is on many occasions careful to distinguish the vulgar logistic from the philosophical arithmetic. So that means that this logistic course, sorry, my phone's ringing. Hold on, let me turn that off. Okay, so this is saying like this course logistic is just practical. It's just meant for like our studies in the world, whereas arithmetic is philosophical. That's more for studies of our soul. So this is just this study that we're going to be doing is just practical. It's things that you can use every day. It's things that you're going to need in your life, just your practical life, to figure out when you go to the grocery store, how much it's going to cost. When you go, if you have to build a fence, you know, how much fencing you're going to need, things like that. So it's very practical. So whereas arithmetic is more philosophical, it's more for your soul and for the good of your soul. Okay, so what we're going to do is a very practical study. So Mr. Michael says, I believe we should be careful to distinguish these as well. So Mr. Michael is careful to distinguish between logistic, which is our study of numbers. What we're going to be doing, we're going to learn to add and subtract, multiply and divide. So that's logistic, okay? Gunnar, you're going to have to check your volume on your computer. Let me bring him here. I can't hear. One of the boys can't hear me. Let me just tell Gunnar real quick. Okay. This is known as clearly seen in the Oxford English Dictionary, which gives as a definition for logistic the following. So this is what you can see. I showed you that dictionary the other day, the Oxford English Dictionary. This is what it says about logistic. The art of arithmetical calculation, the elementary processes of calculation as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be studying addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So that's why Mr. Michael changed the name to logistic. Okay, so now that we understand that, let's go back to the course. So we're going to do logistic 3. Now, first thing we do in this course, we're going to learn definitions. Definitions are the meanings of things. So before we can understand what to do, we have to learn the meanings of things. So Mr. Michael has a video here. Okay. Hold on. Hunter's still having problems. Raise your hand if you can hear me. Wave to me, please, just to make sure everyone else can hear me. Okay. Okay. So I tell Gunnar to ask his mom if she can check for him because he says he still can't hear. Okay, so let's look at the book for a logistic, okay? Here's the book we're going to look at. So let's look at the back. I told you whenever you get a new book, look at the contents, look at the table of contents to see what the book's about. So here we have Ray's New Practical Arithmetic. This is a series of arithmetic books we use here in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. It's an old series that was used in American public schools early on, and Mr. Michael and I trust these very much. They're very good and thorough courses. So we use these for all of our math courses. Okay. So here's the lesson. Here's the table of contents. You can see there's a whole bunch of them. We use these all the way through algebra. Okay, and they even have astronomy, race, surveying, and navigation. That's a study for ships, how ships move on the water, geometry and trigonometry. So you see they have a lot of courses in this book. In this series of books. So there's a preface. Let's look down at the table of contents. Here's the table of contents. So the Arabic system of notation, that's our numbers, like these type of numbers like this. And that's where we're going to start first. Then you have the Roman system of notation, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, compound numbers. This is where we study money and like pounds and ounces and things like that. Here we have factoring and fractions and decimal fractions and the metric system and percentages and interest, discount. So you see, learn about insurance in this course and taxes and ratio. This course is a very, very thorough course. So we're just going to start in the beginning. We're going to read lesson 1 together. Okay. Right here, here's lesson 1, Ray's New Practical Arithmetic. Definitions. So for some of you, this will be new. For some of you, it will be review, but it's okay. Let's just walk through it together and learn bit by bit. So here's Article 1. Article 1. 1. A unit is a single thing of any kind, as one apple, $1, or £1. Okay. A unit is a single thing of any kind, as $1, $1 apple, £1. Can you please type in the chat an example of a unit that you can think of? Something like that. Can you type one for me? Right, good, Jude. 1 tree. Good. Can you think of another example? Anybody else can type one for me? Yeah, good. 1 cow. 1 cow. Good. Good, Collins. I see 1 leaf. Zoe. Very good, Zoe. Zoe, yes, 1 leaf. Good. And William, I wonder why you say that. 1 dog. William's family, his mom is a dog groomer. So she takes care of dogs and makes them beautiful. 1 cent. Good, Bolix. Yes, that's right. So all of those are examples of 1 unit. A unit is a single thing of any kind. Okay. So this is a memory work question right here. Can you just say this with me? Let's say it 2 times. A unit is a single thing of any kind. A unit is a single thing of any kind. One more time. A unit is a single thing of any kind. So this is your memory work for this lesson. You would say a unit is a single thing of any kind. And then you can keep memorizing this as one apple, $1, 1 pound. Okay, good. So I have Isabella wrote 1 ball. Good. And 1 cat. Good. Yes, Jude. Good. A unit is a single thing of any kind. So in the book right here, that will be your memory work. Okay. 1 man. Anna says 1 man. That's right. So number 2, a number consists of 1 or more units as 1, 5, 7 cents, 9, or men. Okay. 9 men. A number consists of 1 or more units as 1, 5, 7 cents, 9 men. So can you type in there another example of a number? You give me an example of a number. Here's some examples for you. So do something like this. 1, 5, 7 cents, 9 men. Good. Zoe, 1 God. Jude, 100 boats. Good. Anna says 1 lamb. That's right. Or it can be 7 lambs. Okay. So a number is 1 or more units. It could be 100 soldiers. It could be 5 apples. Those are all examples. Good, Isabel. 1 doll. Or it can be 7 dolls. Okay. It doesn't have to be just 1. Yeah. It has to be. So William, it would be like 9 dogs. How many dogs are in your house right now, William? 15 dogs. So it would be example like that. Okay. So let's say this together. A number consists of 1 or more units. Again, a number consists of 1 or more units. Let's say that 5 times. Okay. On your hands, do it 5 times. A number consists of 1 or more units. 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 Okay. Can you close your eyes and say it? You close your eyes and say, a number consists of 1 or more units. Okay. So that's how you memorize. You just say it over and over again to yourself. And then you close your eyes or you put your book away and see if you can say it perfectly without looking. Okay. And that's how you memorize. In these courses in the CLAA, want you to memorize, because if you're just reading in a book, it's out there. And if you don't have the book, you don't know what you don't remember. But if it's in your mind, you memorize it and you put it in your mind, you can bring it with you and you have that with you to work on for the rest of your life. So these kinds of things in the courses, when you see them in bold and when you see Mr. Michael says to memorize them. It makes it part of you. It's something you can bring with you forever and ever. Something that becomes internal, becomes a part of you. So don't just leave it in the book. Put it in here. Put it in your mind and you'll always have it with you. So let's go back to the beginning and review again, okay? Let's say this one 5 times. A unit is a single thing of any kind. A unit is a single thing of any kind. A unit is a single thing of any kind. A unit is a single thing of any kind. A unit is a single thing of any kind. Now close your eyes. What is a unit? Can you say it? Tell me if you can say it without looking, right? Tell me yes in the chat. If you can say it without looking, tell me. Okay. Good, Zoe, good. So if I say to you, what is a unit? You should be able to say without looking. A unit is a single thing of any kind. Okay. If you can say that, you can wave to me. Tell me yes, you can say it, or you can type yes. Okay. Good. So good. Okay, good. So that's what you memorize. A unit is a single thing of any kind. And then a number consists of 1 or more units. Okay. Now number 3. Look at number 3. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. So say this with me. Can you hear Charlie? He wants to sit back in my lap. So right here, number 3, arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Okay, good, Jude. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Okay, so let's say that 5 times. You can count on your hand, okay? Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Okay, so then you try to close your eyes. What is arithmetic? Arithmetic treats of numbers and is. Now, if that's really difficult for you, you can just break it up into just learn arithmetic treats of numbers first. And then when you have that mastered, then add in the rest and is the art of computing by them. Good. So Jude's ready. That anybody have that one memorized? What is arithmetic? If you do, you can write yes in the chat. That's probably hard to do right now. Arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. Okay, good, good. So Jude says yes. Good. So now let's move to the next part, okay? We'll do one more here. Numbers are expressed in 2 ways. First by words and second by characters. Good. Good, William. Good, Genevieve and Augustine. Good. So they said they can say it. Good. So listen to this one, number 4. Numbers are expressed in 2 ways. First by words, second by characters. Numbers are expressed in 2 ways. First by words and second by characters. So tell me right in the chat, how many ways can numbers be expressed? Can you tell me in the chat, how many ways can numbers be expressed? Good. Anybody else? Can you tell me how many ways can numbers be expressed? Good. Right. 2 ways. 2 ways. What are the 2 ways in which numbers can be expressed? First by words, second by characters. Okay. What are the 2 ways in which numbers can be expressed? First by words, second by characters. Okay. Words are like when I say to you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are words. That's how we express numbers in words. And then we express them in characters by this. In our language, we express them in characters like this. See the numbers right here? See these? We write this is called characters. We write a 1, we write a number 2, we write the symbol. These are symbols that mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. So these are the characters that express the numbers. Okay. So in how many ways are numbers expressed? Numbers are expressed in 2 ways. First by words, second by characters. Okay. So now you should all know that how many ways are numbers expressed? 2, by words and by characters. Okay. So the next thing we're going to learn about is called a system of notation. Now, a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. Okay. Good, Regina. Good. First by words, then by characters. Good. So a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. So this is how we express them, not by the words, but by characters. So in our language, this is how we write our numbers, right? We write the symbol for 1, this symbol for 2, the symbol for 3, this one for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. So a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. And you already know a system of notation. Most of you can already write these characters for the numbers. So let's say this 5 times right here, okay? Let's say it 5 times together. Can you say it out loud? It's best when you do memory work. That's what I always tell the kids when you do memory work, try to use as many senses as you can. Try to use your eyes by seeing and reading. Try to use your mouth by speaking and saying out loud the memory work. Use your ears by hearing it. When you speak it, then you can hear it. And then also, if you write it down, when I was in college, I used to write out all kinds of things, papers and papers and papers full of writing to memorize things. Another way that you can use your feeling to memorize is by making flashcards. I tell a lot of you kids, a lot of my students, I tell them to make flashcards and always work with your flashcards because that gives you another sense to work with by holding those flashcards and moving them around, okay? So let's read this 5 times. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. A system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. Now close your eyes. I say to you, what is a system of notation? You should be able to say, a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. Can you raise your hand if anybody remembers it so far? Not yet. Too much, right? Too little, too hard. So that's what we're going to do today. So a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. Okay. So and then I want to go over one more thing with you. 2 systems of notation are in use, the Arabic and the Roman. The Arabic system is used in all of our arithmetical calculations, okay? So there's 2 systems of notation, 2 ways to write numbers, the Arabic and the Roman. We use the Arabic system, okay? We use the Arabic system. There's another system called the Roman system, which you're going to learn too. And you've probably seen this a lot. You'll see this in dates, especially in churches. You'll see the dates used in the Roman system. But we're going to learn about the Arabic system. In this course, we're going to learn about the Arabic system of notation. Okay? So that's what we're going to do for arithmetic today. Okay, let's just read it over one more time, and then we'll go on to geometry. It's okay if you can't say it. I wasn't really expecting you'd be able to say it yet. I will go over this again next week, okay? So Article 1, this is Article 1. A unit is a single thing of any kind, as 1 apple, $1, 1 pound. 2, a number consists of 1 or more units, as 1, 5, 7 cents, 9 men. 3, arithmetic treats of numbers and is the art of computing by them. 4, numbers are expressed in 2 ways, first by words, second by characters. 5, a system of notation is a method of expressing numbers by characters. Number 6, 2 systems of notation are in use, the Arabic and the Roman. And we use the Arabic, right? The Arabic system is used in all of our arithmetical calculations. Okay, so that's the beginning of learning about numbers and units and arithmetic. And we'll work on this more next week, okay? So this was Logistic 3, Article 1, and we're just going to start learning about numbers and learning about these terms, these definitions in practical arithmetic, okay? And that's okay, Isabella. You don't have to be able to say it well yet. We're just going to work on this little by little, okay? I just want to go through this little by little with you. Next, let's work on some geometry together, some elementary geometry. So I'm going to show you where this is in the course, okay? So go back to Modern Studies. Here we are in the Study Center. Go to Modern Studies. Scroll down, 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 down. And here it is. See this right here? Elementary geometry. Okay, so click on that. And if mom and dad say it's okay, you can add this to your Study Center account. If you're subscribed, you can add this. If you're an extern student, you can do that. But the only thing with the extern, you don't have the quizzes and the assessments. Okay. If you're a subscribed student, you get to do the quizzes too and the assessments. If you're extern, you can study all these lessons and mark them all as done. Okay. So that's how it works. So what you're going to do is you're going to study Article 1, you'll mark it done, and study Article 2, mark it done, and go all the way down until you get them all finished, and then you can do your quiz. So let's look at the book for elementary geometry. Okay. Can you wave to me if you can see the elementary geometry book? Wave to me. Okay, great. Okay, good. So here's our elementary geometry book. I'll make it nice and big. And you can see it's called Elementary Practical Geometry. Now let's look through here. Okay, so let's look at the table of contents like I always tell you. So look at this. The elements of practical geometry for schools and workmen. That's interesting, huh? Okay, so here we go. Let's read this notice right here so we can understand what this book is for. Notice, this treatise is intended for young workmen and for the older pupils in schools where theoretical geometry is not taught. It explains only the most simple and useful facts and operations which every person ought to know. So you can see it's an important book. Every person ought to know. A great part of it does not require a knowledge even of arithmetic. And no kind of explanation has been used that is likely to be found difficult by a beginner. Perfect for us, right? So it's all going to be easy for beginners to learn. In learning this subject, each portion should be read carefully several times, and the drawings should also be copied more than once of as large a size as possible. So you're going to be copying these drawings out so that you can understand how they are. I want to show you something I have here. When you copy these out, if you can see this, this is called, you can see it real quick. This is called graph paper. See the little squares? See the little squares on there? This is called graph paper. This is the kind of paper that you'll use for geometry because it has these little tiny squares and you can make sure that you write nice and straight. You'll use this kind of paper. And I'll show you one other thing that we use. You guys know what this is? Who can tell me what this is? It's a ruler, right? This is a ruler. And this ruler has a straight edge on it. It's got a little piece of metal. I don't know if you can see it, but it makes it very straight. So what you're going to do is you'll use a ruler like this and you'll draw on graph paper. If you can get some graph paper to learn these lines and these shapes. Okay. And so it's a fun project. So you're going to enjoy this course. This is a course that most kids would really enjoy. Okay. So right here, let's read this again. In learning the subject, each portion should be read carefully several times, and the drawings should be copied more than once, of as large a size as possible. When the treatise is used by a teacher, he should explain each part and make large drawings before the pupils. He should then question the pupils upon every part and should cause them to make drawings on a blackboard or slate or upon paper as large as is convenient. So you see how that works? So the teacher actually talks to the students and has the students makes these drawings for the students. So I'll make some drawings for you. And then the students actually can make the drawings themselves. Okay, so you see how that works? So here's a table of contents. I always tell you to look at the table of contents when you're starting with a book, okay? So you can see what it's about. Here's the table of contents. So let's look through this. So here's the notice we just read and the introduction. What geometry means and its parts or divisions. We have solid geometry, plane geometry, practical geometry. And we don't know what any of those things mean yet, but we're going to learn as we read through the book. Okay. Part 2 is words and notions most common and important in geometry. Lines, straight lines and curved lines and irregular lines. You're going to learn about what a point is, and you're going to learn all these things about different types of lines. Now look down here, you're going to learn about angles. All these different types of angles you're going to learn about. How angles are marked by letters. And then you're going to learn about figures. Plane, rounded, rough, rectilineal. You don't even know these words yet. I'm still learning how to pronounce them. Rectilineal. You're going to learn about all these different things here. Okay, triangles, four-sided figures like squares and rhomboids, polygons. Here's curved figures like circles. You're going to learn about the circumference and the semicircle, ovals, ellipses. So all these things here, and then we have solid figures, okay? You're going to learn about the difference between a plane figure and a solid figure. So here's a solid figure like pyramids and cubes and prisms and spheres, cylinders and cones. So look how much stuff you're going to learn. But we're just going to start in the beginning, okay? And then how to draw parallels. So all these things, okay? So it's quite a major course. So let's start with the beginning. Let's look at the introduction, okay? And I'm going to read through this introduction with you. You're going to find this I think you'll find it very fun. Introduction. Number 1, what geometry means and its parts or divisions. Number 1, geometry is the name for what we know about the shapes and forms of things. Now see this little star here? When you're reading a book and if you ever see a star like that, that means that there's a note at the bottom of the page and they want you to look at it and read it. So look down here. Here it is. Here's the star again. And they match each other. And so that means come look at the bottom. I have a little note for you. Solid bodies have shape. Figures such as triangles, squares, and circles have form. So it's talking about the difference between something that's solid and that's something that's just a figure. We're going to learn about that in this course, what that means. So let's look at number 1 again. Geometry is the name for what we know about the shapes and forms of things. Okay? You don't have to memorize this, just be very familiar with it. So what you want to do is just read this over to yourself like 10, 15 times to make sure you understand it and you can think about it, but you don't have to memorize it, okay? Geometry is the name for what we know about the shapes and forms of things. Number 2, we learn the names of shapes and forms such as balls, cubes, squares, circles, triangles, and many others, no matter what they are made of or how large or small they are. This naming is part of geometry. So see, in geometry, we're going to learn the names of shapes and forms, such as balls, cubes, squares, circles, triangles, and many others, no matter what they are made of or how large or small they are. This naming is part of geometry. Okay, so we're going to learn about the names of shapes and forms. Now, number 3. We learn what parts these shapes and forms have and how to make up or to draw such shapes and forms. Number 3, we learn what parts these shapes and forms have and how to make up or draw such shapes and forms. So not only do we learn the shapes and the forms names, we're also going to learn the parts that they're made of, and we're going to learn how to draw them. Okay? Can you raise your hand if you like to draw? Any of you guys like to draw? You all like to draw. Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. Good. My kids love to draw too. So you're going to learn how to draw shapes and forms correctly, okay? And you're going to need to use that ruler I showed you. Okay? So if you have one of these at home, you're going to want to, just simple, they just cost like $1. You just ask mom and dad if they can get you one. Or if you already have one, that's great. But try to make sure that they have like a little piece of metal in it to keep it nice and straight when you draw. Okay. So you're going to want to get a ruler. And then so obviously you need some pencils too. Okay. So number 4, let's read number 4 together. Now we're doing elementary geometry and elementary arithmetic. We're going to do both classes in this, both courses together. Okay, so we're going to do both elementary arithmetic and elementary geometry in this time together. So just an introduction. Number 4, we learn how to measure and calculate objects of many different shapes and forms. So in geometry, we learn how to measure and calculate objects of many different shapes and forms. Thus, we find out how much wood or stone a log of wood or a block of stone contains. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? How many acres there are in a field. Stop on the chat. Stop playing on the chat, or I'm going to have to turn the chat off. So thus we find out how much wood or stone a log of wood or a block of stone contains, how much wood there is inside of it. Inside of a log of wood, how much wood is actually in that wood? How much stone is in that block of stone? We're going to find out how much is actually inside of it. How many acres there are in a field? We'll learn how to measure a field and find out how many acres are inside that field. How much carpet is needed for a room? What if you're going to put a new carpet in your house, in your room, and you have to go to the store and tell them how much you need? You have to be able to calculate how much you need, because if you bought too little, your room would look pretty silly with only part of the carpet done, you know? Or if you bought too much, you'd be wasting money and you would have to throw it away. So geometry helps with things like that. It's very practical. What is the distance across a river which we cannot get over? What is the distance across the river which we cannot get over? And the height of a tree or the height of a steeple, which we cannot get up to measure. Also, how to make maps of countries and rivers and lakes and seas, and many other useful things. All these are parts of geometry or are taught by geometry. Okay, so geometry is very exciting. We're going to learn how to do all of these practical calculations of things. So let's read that one more time and go over that. 4, we learn how to measure and calculate objects of many different shapes and forms. Thus, we find out how much wood or stone a log of wood or a block of stone contains. How many acres there are in a field. How much carpet is needed for a room. What is the distance across a river which we cannot get over? And the height of a tree or a steeple which we cannot get up to measure. Also, how to make maps of countries, rivers, lakes, and seas, and many other useful things. All these are parts of geometry or are taught by geometry. Sound pretty exciting? You're going to learn a lot in this course, okay? So this is going to be fun. 5, we learn how to compare. Yeah, Zoe likes that idea. We learn how to compare different shapes and forms so as to find if they are of the same size or not. We learn to compare different shapes and forms so as to find out if they are the same size or not, as whether a thick, short log of wood contains as much timber as a long, thin one. So it's saying here, you'll be able to compare. If you have a very thick, short piece of wood, and then you have a very long, skinny one, you're going to be able to compare whether they have the same amount of wood, because they may, okay? If a certain plank contains enough wood for a box or a table we wish to make, how much plastering or painting or paper hanging is required for a room? So if you're going to paint a room, how much paint are you going to need? How would you even know how to do that? If you're gonna ask your mom to paint your room or the house, how is your mom going to figure that out? Geometry and calculations using geometry are the ways to figure that out. If a man wants to make a table, how is he going to know if the piece of wood that he's looking at is enough wood to make the table? Geometry. So we're going to learn about things like that too. So how much plastering or painting or paper hanging, they mean wallpaper. People used to always hang wallpaper on their walls, which were like paper with one side was like gluey, and you would hang it up on your wall to make your wall pretty. Anyone have wallpaper in their rooms, in their house? It's not very popular anymore. It's not very popular anymore, but people always used to do that. So it would be like a decoration on it, and it would be strips of big paper, and they would hang it on their walls and kind of glue it to the wall, so it made the wall look really pretty. We don't really use it too much. We had a house, Mr. Michael and I bought an old farmhouse one time years and years ago, and it had the wallpaper on it. We had to take it all down. So I know a lot about wallpaper. So we have to find out what paper hanging is required for a room, what square or circle or oblong is equal to a certain triangle, what size of ball is equal to a certain cube or square size, and many other things very useful in most trades. So this is a very practical course, okay? When you get older, depending upon what trade you guys decide to pursue, this could be useful to you in different ways. So number 6. There are also many other parts of geometry of much use to carpenters, smiths, bricklayers, masons, surveyors, engineers, seamen, astronomers, and to almost all other trades and professions, some of which are explained in this treatise. So look at all those professions. These are all types of work that people are in where they need geometry. They need to know geometry to do their work well. So look at these: carpenters, smiths, bricklayers, masons, surveyors, engineers, seamen, astronomers, and to almost all other trades and professions, some of which are explained in this treatise. I know when we were younger, Mr. Michael used geometry a lot because when we were younger, we had to move a lot. Live different places. And Mr. Michael used geometry all the time to figure out how to load our moving trucks to make sure everything fit perfectly. He also used it. There were times when we had to move things out of little teeny doors, and when we used to live in little apartments and things like that when we were first married. And Mr. Michael used geometry and those principles to figure out how to get our furniture and things out of the doors. I remember him using geometry to calculate how to move things out. One time we had such a little place when the stairs were so narrow that Mr. Michael had to cut our bed in half, and he had to figure out exactly how far he had to cut it to get it out down the stairs, because our stairs were so narrow when we lived in New Jersey. So these are things, geometry, I've known many times when Mr. Michael's had to use geometry in our life. So these are things you're going to find very useful. So we right here in number 7, geometry has 2 principal parts or divisions: solid geometry and plane geometry. And you're going to learn what those mean: solid geometry and plane geometry. So let's read the next part about solid geometry right here, okay? Solid geometry: the naming, measuring, and comparing the shapes of solids such as bricks, boxes, books, balls, pillars, stems of trees, extinguishers, and many other shapes is called solid geometry, or the geometry of solids. So that you see, the geometry of solids is actual physical shapes, like a brick, like a box, like a book. So we're going to measure the solid things that have like shape to them. And then plane geometry is different, okay? Number 9, we also learn by solid geometry how much a box or cistern or ship or any hollow body will hold. So in solid geometry, we're going to learn if it's like a container like this. See, I have a container of pecans on my desk. We're going to learn in geometry, how much can this hold? How much can this container for the pecans hold in it? So that's what we're going to learn for solid geometry. It's going to be like shapes that are full and solid and how much is in it. And then we're also going to learn about, if you have something that's hollow and empty, how much can you put inside of it? That's important too, especially if you have a different kind of business where you're going to sell something and you're going to put something inside of a container, and you need to know how much can fit in that container. We're just going to work, Jude, we're going to work on this little by little. We're going to work on this little by little and see how much we can do together, okay? So that's solid geometry. Let's read one more here. We're going to stop at plane geometry today. So all solids have outsides or surfaces. All solids have outsides or surfaces. Some outsides are flat, such as those of bricks, books, and floors, okay? So here I have an old book. I have an old book so here's a solid. The solid has an outside. The outside is flat of this book, right? All the outsides are flats, okay? So these flat outsides are called plane surfaces or planes. Other solids have round surfaces or outsides, such as balls, trunks of trees, basins, and many others. So you see, solids have either flat surfaces, plane surfaces, or they have round surfaces like a ball or like a tree trunk or like a sink. Think about a sink, how it goes down like this, okay? These are called curved surfaces. Many objects have rough surfaces, but only the flat or plane surfaces and the rounded surfaces are treated of in geometry because rough or irregular surfaces cannot be named or measured exactly. Okay, you got that? So in geometry, we're only going to study about objects that have surfaces that are smooth like this, because if it's rough and bumpy, we can't study that in geometry because we can't calculate all those irregularities because it's irregular. It's not the same. We can't calculate that with geometry. So it's only going to be things that can be measured exactly because they're smooth. Okay. So, but it can be something that's curved and like it's hollow like this. The box is kind of a little curved and it's hollow in there. We can measure things like that in geometry. Okay. So we're going to learn about solid geometry. And can anyone give me an example of a solid? We had a bunch over here. Can you give me some more examples? Up here, we had solids. So we're going to learn about the shapes of solids like bricks, boxes, books, balls, pillars, stems of trees. Can anybody give me an example of a solid you can think of? Looking around you, there's tons of them. Look around. Yeah. Yep. Like a bowl, candy. Anna's telling me she has a book. There's a solid right here. So that's what we're going to study. Things that are solid, like a tree trunk, like a ship. Yeah, like a bowl, like a table, candy. So we're going to learn about solids. Yeah, pencil. Even a pencil is a solid, right? We can study how much wood is used to make that pencil. The company would have had to learn how much wood they need to make one pencil, right? A toy is a solid. So we're going to learn about it if it's a toy that is smooth and that can actually be studied because it's not irregular. And we learned right here that it has to be surfaces that are regular, not irregular. Okay, so this is solid geometry we've been talking about, and next week, we'll talk about plane geometry. Okay, so that's what I wanted to go through today. I wanted to start with geometry and start with numbers and arithmetic. Does anyone have any questions or anything you wanted to ask about? If you did, you can put them in you can ask if you can put them in the chat or ask mom to put them in the chat. Okay. So if you wanted to do this class, you can tell mom this is called, in modern studies, it's called elementary geometry. Okay. And you can ask mom to add this on for you. And you can begin working one by one and learning the articles. And then when you're all ready, you can take this quiz down here. So there's a quiz on there too, okay? No, William, everything's a solid. We're going to learn about plane figures also, okay? So you're going to learn about plane figures they're not solids. You're going to learn about the difference between them, okay? So that's everything I wanted to go over today. We started Logistic 3. Right here, we learned about numbers. We learned about what a unit is, what a number is, and what arithmetic treats of. We learned about systems of notation, and we learned about the Arabic system that we're going to be using, okay? And then we went through geometry, and we learned what geometry is, and we learned all about solid geometry, okay? So that's all we're going to work on today. You may be working on a different logistic course. That's fine. Just keep working on that course. We're just going to go talk together through logistic 3. But if you're in logistic 1 or logistic 2, that's fine. Just go through that course. But if you're in logistic 3, we're just going to be slowly working through that together. Okay. So that's everything for today. So you can feel free to go. I'll stay for a couple minutes if anyone has any questions. You're welcome. You're welcome, Agnes. You're welcome, Isabella. And then if you wanted to come next week, we'll continue learning about Arabic notation, and we'll learn about plane. We'll go down here and we'll learn about plane geometry next week. And then tomorrow, if you wanted to come tomorrow to our class tomorrow, we're going to learn about chronology and geography. So if you wanted to come tomorrow, you can feel free to register for that, and we'll do chronology and geography tomorrow. Right? So that's it. Mr. Michael has a class that's starting. If anybody wanted to go to Mr. Michael's class, you can feel free to go to that. He's doing Greek studies today. And if you have any questions, I'll hang around for a few minutes. You can just type them in, and I can answer any questions you have or help you with anything, okay? Bye, Isabella. You're welcome, Collins. See you later. Okay, you're welcome, Jude. Okay, bye. Bye. I'm just going to hang out for 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can just write in there. No, Zoe, I wasn't homeschooled. I went to a public school in New Jersey. I wasn't even a Catholic. I didn't become Catholic until I was 30 years old. My father was a Protestant pastor in New Jersey, and I went to a public school. So, but when Mr. Michael and I were married, before we were married, we decided we wanted to homeschool our children, and Mr. Michael was a teacher, and I was a teacher, and we said, you know what? We're both teachers, so we should teach our own children. There's no reason to send our children to the public school to have other people teach them. We can teach them ourselves. So that's why we homeschool our kids. But Mr. Michael and I were not homeschooled. We were public school kids, and we met when we were in high school, in public school. So I'm very, very glad and thankful we can homeschool our kids, and that you guys are too. You guys have a wonderful life. You don't have all this stress. When we were in public school, it was like being in a jail. You had to stand in lines and sit in your seat, and couldn't really be loose or do anything. And when you're homeschooled, you don't have to have that kind of life. So it's very nice. You have a very happy life. So, William, do you do any videos for learning the rosary? So William's asking if we have any videos for learning the rosary. We don't, but I could make one. Would that be helpful for you to have a video to learn to pray the rosary? If that would be helpful, I could make one. As Mr. Michael and I are what's called lay Dominicans. That means we're followers of St. Dominic, and we have a vocation. We've taken promises that we would do certain things. And our promises are about having morning prayer, praying evening prayer, praying the rosary every day, going to mass as many times as we can, going to confession regularly, participating in our group. And we have a group here in Charlotte where we go every month and meet our other Dominicans there, and have an apostolate. Apostolate means that we do some kind of work. And teaching you guys is our work as Dominicans. So one of the things that we have to do is, if you know about the rosary, you'll know that the Blessed Virgin Mary gave the rosary to St. Dominic. And St. Dominic is the founder of the Dominicans. So yes, I could do a rosary. I could do a video about the rosary if that will be helpful. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Videos on learning the mysteries for little kids would be helpful. We can do that. We can read through it. I have some books we could learn. I can read to you some little stories about the mysteries for you to think on. But Mr. Michael does have a page. If you go to the Classical Liberal Arts, if you go on here, I think he has rosary resources. Let me look it up real quick. There's a page on here, a really beautiful page that Mr. Michael made about the rosary. Let me see if I can find it. It's not a video. And I told you we can make a video. but right here, how to see this, how to pray the rosary. Mr. Michael made this for you guys. So it's really nice. So here are the pictures of the mysteries. Can you see this? See it, William? So here's a picture. You have the Annunciation. These are the joyful mysteries. These are the mysteries that we pray on Mondays and on Saturdays. So here's the Annunciation when the angel Gabriel came to Mary and told her that she was going to be the mother of Jesus. And then down here, we have the Visitation. And the Blessed Virgin Mary went to go visit St. Elizabeth because she found out St. Elizabeth was having John the Baptist. Oh, well, happy birthday to your brother, Zoe. Zoe says that it was her brother Jonathan's birthday yesterday. Zoe, how old is your brother Jonathan now? Can you tell me? You can show me on your fingers. So here's the next one. Oh, he's 5. So Zoe has a 5-year-old brother whose name is Jonathan. Happy birthday to Jonathan, Zoe. So then we have the Visitation here. So here is, here's the Nativity. So I showed you the Visitation up here when the Virgin Mary went to visit St. Elizabeth. And down here is the Nativity. So we celebrate a Christmas when the Lord Jesus was born in a stable in Bethlehem. And you have the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. Joseph. Remember I told you about the halos you'll see in art to show holy people? So the Blessed Virgin Mary with her halo, St. Joseph, and baby Jesus with her halos. And then the next joyful mystery after the Nativity is the Presentation in the temple. When the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. Joseph, when Jesus was a baby, brought him to the temple to present him to God. Okay, and then you have right here, I didn't show you, this is also how to pray the rosary right here. So you see the Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, the Glory Be, and Oh My Jesus. So here is the Presentation. That's number 4. And then the 5th mystery is the finding of Jesus in the temple. When Jesus was 12 years old, his mother and father visited Jerusalem, and on their way home, they started looking for Jesus when he was 12 and they couldn't find him anywhere. And he was actually in the temple talking to the elders and the chief priests. And so the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. Joseph found him there talking to the chief priests and asking them questions. And so that's the 5th mystery, finding of Jesus in the temple. And so this keeps going, William. Look, there's the luminous mysteries. And you'll see there's pictures down here. These are the sorrowful mysteries. So this would be helpful for you right now. You can feel free to use this when you're working with and praying the rosary or by yourself. And then, yes, we can make videos to go with it. That wouldn't be a problem. Could even like put the picture up on the screen and you think about the picture as we go through. But yeah, here we go. So you can start with this, okay? And there is a link somewhere on here that Mr. Michael made he actually made a way you can print it out. And it's a really beautiful little booklet that he had made on here. I don't know how it works, but he had a printout. If you look for rosary, you may be able to find it. It was years and years ago, but I know it's buried in here somewhere. So somewhere in here, I think you can find a rosary guide to print out. You can search in there, okay? So if you look in here, you may find it. I'm not sure. You may have to dig. You have to remember we have been putting things in here for so long, years and years, that when you dig, you'll find old things in here. So you can see if you can find it. But yeah, I'll talk to Mr. Michael about doing the video, okay? So anything else? Any other questions or anything else you want to go over? Okay, you're welcome, William. So use that guide right here. So right now with Mom, so you'll see the promises, the rosary, how to pray the rosary. You can use that guide on there. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do chronology and geography. And I hope to see you then, okay? Have a good afternoon. Be good for Mom. Obey your parents, and God will bless you. Okay? Bye.